This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports.
Good morning and welcome to the Mac and Jack Sports Show. And I am Jamie Baggs, the Philly sports guy, and I am here with both Mac and Jack here, since I'm not going to talk about how he's a Hall of Fame boxing writer because he wants to be known about all sports. Jack, good morning, guys. How are you?
Hey, good morning, fellas.
Good morning.
See, was that a better introduction? Since I didn't want to tout that whole boxing thing. That you are a master of all sports, kind of.
Right. What sports do we have today? I mean, what's the big news? That's what the people want to hear out there. They want to get right into it. We want to get off to a flying start.
Well, I tell you what, I love getting off to flying starts when we get to make fun of New York a little bit. And I'm going to start off with, again, New York does not get their guy that they were dying to get. I even watched Stephen A. Smith almost crying on a video because there's somebody who just became a Cleveland Cavalier instead of a New York Knick.
You know, Donovan Mitchell, and let's face it, Donovan Mitchell is a star in the league. You can make an argument whether he's one of the best players in the NBA. Maybe yes, maybe no, but he's a difference maker for sure. We can all agree on that. A big difference maker. He would have been to any team he went to. But if you want to get a Donovan Mitchell, you got to give up a lot. How much are you willing to give up? And I think the thing that hurt the Knicks getting Donovan Mitchell was the Rudy Gobert deal with the Jazz, because the Timberwolves gave up a tremendous amount for Rudy Gobert, the equivalent of 5 number 1 draft choices, 2 position players that could have an impact on top of it, and 2 other reserve players, a total of 9 players there. So that was going to make it hard to get Donovan Mitchell, because Donovan Mitchell was considered at least on a par with Rudy Gobert, maybe even more valuable. So Utah was demanding a lot of assets in the beginning, and the Knicks just couldn't pull off a deal. I mean, they didn't want to give R.J. Barrett away. That was holding it up. And maybe they could have made a deal without including R.J. Barrett, but they would have had to give up a ton of future first-round draft picks. And when the Knicks signed R.J. Barrett to that extension, the $120 million 4-year extension, that basically told the Jazz, you know, he's off the table completely now. Okay, don't even consider getting him, and he was the most valuable asset they wanted from the Knicks. But the thing about it is, I think the Knicks were counting on the last refusal, that the Jazz will call them up and say, we have a deal in place. This is the situation. Either give us this or we're making the deal with the other team. And the Knicks didn't get that right, a last refusal with the Jazz. As soon as they signed R.J. Barrett, practically a day later, the Jazz turned around and trade, him to the Cleveland Cavaliers. What did they get, guys? Do you think it was good value?
Here's the trade. So the Cleveland Cavaliers are acquiring 3-time All-Star Donovan Mitchell from the Utah Jazz in exchange for Lauri Markkanen, Colin Sexton, Ochai Agbaji, and first-round pick on 25, 27, and 29, and pick swaps in 26 and 28. So literally, they got 5 first-round picks and 3 players for 1 guy.
I think it was a good deal. I think it was a win-win in a sense for both teams, because the most attractive asset that the Jazz got in that, the most single attractive asset, was Colin Sexton, a
Correct.
Very good player. If he stays with the Jazz, he's going to be a perennial starter, a potential all-star. He's going to be very good he's going to be maybe just a small level below Donovan Mitchell if he develops and all goes well. He's already a very good player, Colin Sexton. He's young. He's just going to get better. From Cleveland's point of view, as far as the draft swaps go, draft swaps are only going to hurt you as a team if the other team has a lot better record than you have, and you're going to pick very low. You're going to have pick high in the draft. I mean, you're going to get one of the top picks, but Cleveland's going to have a good team throughout the years now. As long as Donovan Mitchell stays, they got Jared Allen, they got Mobley, they have the nucleus of a very good team. Let me go a step further. Cleveland might actually contend in the East to go to the finals this year. You heard me. With Donovan Mitchell, they might contend. They're another contender now because of Donovan Mitchell. And then they're the three number ones. The three number ones are not going to have a great deal of value if Cleveland turns into one of the better teams in the East and maintains it over the years. And the last of the number ones is in 2029. Guys, when 2022 now, are you really worried 7 years down the line about losing your number one pick? You'll get it back later on. You'll make some type of deal if you want it bad enough. So it was a good deal for Cleveland. And considering Utah, their back was against the wall. It had gotten to the point where they had to trade Donovan Mitchell to get the deal they had. It was a decent deal. In Colin Sexton, they have a really good player who's going to help them right now. So I think it's basically win-win. Could the Knicks have done anything differently, guys? Do you think the Knicks could have gotten them, should have gone after them harder? It was the smartest thing for the Knicks to just, stay pat the way they did.
So I think that the Knicks, the problem was that the Knicks didn't have the picks. And that's really what the Jazz have been looking for. Obviously the Jazz are in the middle of now a rebuild. Since getting rid of like half of their team, it's really a full rebuild now in Utah. But they have amassed, it says right here, 13 unprotected or lightly protected draft picks through the 2029 season, all first rounders. So realistically, in 2029, it's possible Cleveland is back down in the doldrums, and that actually could be something that's really worthwhile for Utah. You're talking 7 years down the line, and they have.
Who's worried about that?
Well, of course you're not worried about that. Well, Utah's worried about that. That's who's worried about it. That's who's thinking about it. Cleveland's not, because Cleveland's trying to win now, and they're mortgaging some of their future to try to do that right this second. But ultimately, who cares about this is Utah.
Can we put Dave's comments back up there for a minute so we can see what he was saying? I think he said something. I mean, that's true.
Clarkson is a sharpshooter with Utah. Okay, he's a sharpshooter coming off the bench to give teams a spark. He's like Joe Harris with the Nets. I mean, it's easy to say Donovan Mitchell was enough. Utah, Danny Ainge, who's conducting business for Utah, he drives a hard bargain. He's always been, I don't want to use the word heartless, Danny Ainge, but he's about business. Danny Ainge once, when he was with the Celtics, had a conversation with Red Auerbach about players like Larry Bird, and Auerbach always felt he wanted his guys to finish their careers as Celtics, never move on from them. And Danny Ainge always felt you should move on. Wasn't he, Danny Ainge, the guy who made the deal with the Nets with Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce? He traded them to the Nets for assets.
Yeah.
It's a heartless business at the end of someone's career. I mean, sometimes there's a such thing as loyalty. You just let the guy finish his career with a team. But at the end, it doesn't seem to be that loyal. That's why when a player's in the prime of his career, if he wants to go elsewhere, let him go elsewhere if he wants, because when you're at the end of the line, you think they're going to look out for you. Probably not. They're going to do the front office what's best for the team. So you do what's best for yourself when you're in your prime.
Well, Carlos and Dave are both putting up really valid comments here. I mean, they're saying things about the Cavs and Ainge and how he worked.
Exactly. They didn't give up their core, and they got Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah.
They weren't going to get Clarkson as a throw-in. Utah wasn't going to throw him, and he was too valuable for that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that that's about appropriate. I don't think that I think Cleveland still needs a little bit extra to be able to get into the top echelon of the East. I think that they are right now that with this move, they jump above Atlanta. As funny as I say that, I think Atlanta is going to have a rebound year.
Yeah, maybe.
But that they are, I mean, I still look at them as still a bottom,
No.
bottom 8 team, not a top 8 team.
Cleveland has more upside than the powerful teams in the East, because the powerful teams in the East, for the most part, the players are established. We know what they can do. It's a question of who plays better. But you still have players like Jared Allen and Mobley on the Cavaliers developing, getting better and better. It's ironic, that Jared Allen deal, I hated it when the Nets traded him because I saw his potential in the Harden deal. If the Nets just didn't do any business with Harden, never made the darn deal, just kept Jared Allen to begin with, I mean, think of how much better they'd be off. I mean, I would trade Kyrie now for Jared Allen in the snap of a finger if Cleveland would make it.
You agree with Carlos now that the Knicks are the biggest winners, not having to pay or try to work a contract and lose players on the rise?
No, if they could have kept their core, meaning their core is basically, R.J. Barrett, I mean, and got in Donovan Mitchell and no matter how many draft picks they would have given up, I'm not saying I would have necessarily done that. The Knicks would have been very relevant in the Garden, very relevant. I mean, it would have made them a playoff team. There would have been a lot more buzz. They still wouldn't have quite been a championship caliber, but with Donovan Mitchell, you're talking about potentially winning 50 games, kind of being in the mix. So, but Cleveland is a young team. They're on the rise. I think this is going to impact them very positively. And Utah did the best they could do under the circumstance, just like with Minnesota making that crazy deal to get Rudy Gobert. It was insane, but at the same time, Rudy Gobert is going to help the Timberwolves tremendously. And if they get to the finals one year, they've never been there before, it would be in large part because of the deal they made to get Rudy Gobert. So how can you say it's not worth it?
So there's a report that the Knicks offered the Jazz a package including Barrett and Robinson for Mitchell.
Oh, and were there draft picks attached?
That there was. It doesn't really go into that. And 3 unprotected first-round picks. That was.
Wow. That's very interesting. Wow. Yeah. So in other words, I didn't know that, Pags. If they gave him 3 unprotected first-round picks, that's the same as they're getting from Cleveland. Right. Okay? Same as they're getting from Cleveland, but there were 2 swap pick offers on top of that, which I don't think is that consequential. So basically, the difference in that deal, in large part, the centerpiece player would have been Sexton or Barrett. And Dave is saying Sexton is better than Barrett. Perhaps he's right, but it depends who you like more. If you're Utah, if you like Sexton more, you made the right deal. If you like Barrett more, then perhaps you didn't.
Really great comments from these guys today. They're all over it.
Yeah, they're all over it. And let's bring in the newest. Let's bring in one of the newest members of the Texas Sports Hall of Fame.
Different type of games, guys. Sexton and Barrett play. Different type of games. One's underneath the boards. One's
hey, more. Byron, what's up, buddy?
Shooter.
Good morning. How you guys doing?
If Jack stops talking, I'll let you know.
If Byron stops texting past midnight, then I'll Be quiet for him, man. Byron, don't wake me up at that time. Text a little earlier.
It's hot down here, so I never get no sleep. So
Yeah, well.
Yeah. And the time difference too, right, Byron? I mean, you're still, behind us a little bit. So you're
bit.
texting.
Yeah, I was going to say it was before midnight when he texted there. So,
Right.
that's when my memory kicked in.
Yes. There you go. Byron in his memory. We all know about that.
Byron knows his NBA. Don't sell him and Jeff Coach short. I give them credit. They do know their NBA. I got to give them their football, but NBA, they know their stuff.
Football, we don't know, huh? Okay.
yeah, but Byron, are you more of a Rockets or a Mavericks fan?
I'm more of a Maverick fan. Maverick. So
yeah. All right.
I like the Mavericks. I really do.
Well, then you would be happy to know that in Germany they just retired Dirk Nowitzki's number. So nobody in basketball that plays basketball in Germany will be able to wear the number 14 as they retired it throughout the entire country for Dirk Nowitzki.
Yeah, I saw that. That was amazing. It was awesome. I saw what Jason Kidd was there and Mark Cuban was there as well. So it was an awesome celebration.
Yeah.
So, and here's a great question by Carlos. Are you a Cuban fan or just Mavericks fan?
I'm a combination of both. I kind of like them both. I just think the Mavericks have they play their hearts out, but they have a hard time keeping the superstars here, and a lot of guys come and stop and leave. But overall, I like the player that they have now. Everybody's rallying around him, and he's an exciting player.
Wait. Just saying the Mavericks play their heart out. Luka has been accused of not getting into top physical condition.
Yes.
So I don't want to hear guys playing his heart out. What if he's not hitting the weight room, not doing a lot of running, not doing repetitions over and over?
But that's his style of play, though, Jack. That's the way he played. That's the way he played the game.
And
I appreciate the way he played the game.
I like Jack's use of the words repetition over and over, which is the same thing.
There you go. Another one.
That's a
Carlos.
Yogi kind of like.
Carlos, what's Carlos talking about?
Edit duo.
Did you like Dirk Nowitzki and Kidd, Jason Kidd, or with Nash?
I like Jason Kidd was a great player. He's a team player. He knew how to deliver the ball. I just hope he can deliver as a coach. What he did on the court. So I think he was an all around player. I really like that. He didn't miss free throws. He was consistent.
I'm going to tell you guys this. When Jason Kidd was on the Nets and took them to the finals 2 years in a row, during the time he was with the Nets, this is a bold statement, he was every bit as good as Magic Johnson for those couple of years. Magic Johnson was not any better than that version of Jason Kidd. He was an absolute superstar with the Nets. If you want to make an argument over their whole career, who is better than who, fine. But I know Jason Kidd with the Nets was an incredible player. He was a difference maker. He carried that team to the finals for 2 years in a row.
Yeah, no doubt. He was a great player.
Yeah, I would get for those 2 years he was good, but I think over the career, again, Jason Kidd didn't win any rings, right? He didn't win any chips.
I think he might. Yeah, I think he won one.
He did with Dallas. He did with Dallas.
He won with the Dallas Mavericks.
As a player.
Got you.
Yeah.
Right.
So as he was a bench player though at that point, right? He was already
nowhere close to Magic Johnson and the rings that he got, right? I mean, you can't compare the two.
Right. That's what I'm getting at. It's like if you have to start to include the chips when you start to do a full career.
Yeah.
But also, guys, and Mac, you got to consider who their teammates were. Okay.
Right.
Magic played with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. That's the equivalent when Byron played football. That's like if he had Jerry Rice as the other receiver. Of course, Byron would have had more catches because they
Of
would have been
course.
double teaming Jerry Rice.
I like
Byron
that.
didn't
I like
even
that.
get remembered by Sims when he had a 170-yard reception game. So it's like Sims is like, who are you? You know, so it's obviously, yeah, that is what it is. And unfortunately, Byron didn't get to stick around long enough. Who knows? Byron could have been a Hall of Famer had he been able to stick around long enough.
Hey, listen, I agree
We'll
with
blame Parcells for that.
I agree with that. Listen, listen, Parcells did let him take his car to go get the playbook, so he's not all bad.
Hell yeah, yeah, he did. He did let me use his car. I forgot my playbook on my rookie year, so I had to go get my playbook. So
Yes.
I don't know. Like what I like about Byron, he takes us like inside the locker room. And one of the things that Byron mentioned, he confirmed that I really warmed my heart, is that guys trying to be more involved in the offensive scheme, where they'll even go get the coordinator's cup of coffees. They'll run. They'll do anything. I love it.
They empty the trash. I mean, mop the floor.
There we go. So, anyways, so college football really got underway. If you don't count week 0, which I don't, because I feel like week 0 is not like, it's like Coke Zero. It's like It's called Coke, but it doesn't have any taste. Same thing with week 0 of the NCAA. So this really started week 1. It started yesterday. Anything that you're expecting to see here in this first week of college football?
Well, I watched the game last night between Penn State and Purdue, and it was exciting football. I was impressed with how many points were scored, 35-31. I glanced at a couple of other games, but actually Purdue could have won that game. I think you got to control the ball the last 2 or 3 minutes of the game, and they didn't do that. For some reason, they want to throw the ball, but you got to have some type of. That just goes to show you that you have to have a run control game as well as a passing coordinated game as well. So I think Purdue was in a good position to win that game, but it was an exciting game to get kicked off for the college football season.
And like we said, Byron, right? It's a cycle. Eventually they'll start running the ball once the defensive lineman gets smaller and the defensive backs get smaller.
Right.
They'll start doing that again.
Exactly. Yes. No doubt. But it was good to get college football kicked off. I'm excited what's going to happen tomorrow, Saturday. You got college football from early in the morning to late at night. So it's good to get that atmosphere rolling again, and get people excited, because if you watch the excitement in the fans with the students and the fans, you just love it. It's just a part of the spirit of enjoying the game of football.
And I'm a little confused about the schedule of college. I understand they want to get a head start on the NFL. You don't want to start the same exact weekend. But when exactly does school start in college? I mean, this is a little before Labor Day. Shouldn't classes be starting after Labor Day? And meanwhile, they got the games,
Not true. Most colleges have been in session already. They started at right around the beginning of August is when they start in. I've always thought that was, that college started literally 2-3 weeks before high school. And high school was to start after Labor Day. Now they moved high school up so that they're starting before, Labor Day now too. My kids have already started school. They went in a couple of days this week. So
yeah, I really like the way they got it now. Like we used to play 4 preseason games, and then you don't have to. Then the next week you start the regular season. Now it's 2 weeks before the season start, and then they done mixed the college in there, and then of course high school football started here in Texas last week. So. Which was a week before college started. So I think the timing is good. Give people enough time to adjust their schedule and make some things happen. But the excitement is what I like about everything, because now you're starting up the game of football, and everybody is in the mix. You got high school, college, and now you got the NFL starting up.
Carlos got a question for you, Byron. Byron, which coach will have more success? Dolphins Mike D or Giants Brian D? I'm not sure.
No doubt. the Giants, Brian D gonna have more success because what he did in Buffalo is gonna be almost the same thing he's gonna do with the Giants. And you can already see the Giants are getting ready to be in a position to be very competitive and not have a lot of excuses like they had in the last year or two. So I'm thinking that Brian Debo gonna be the guy that's gonna really set a good pace for the Giants.
Super Bowl.
I wish we had a
Super Bowl.
replay last.
Say what?
I wish we had a replay. Oh, go ahead, Mac, and then.
Okay, I should say we're going to the Super Bowl this year, right, Byron? All the way.
We definitely going to the wild card playoff.
Oh man!
Again,
man.
I'm taking all bets. Any bet that anybody wants to make on the Giants making the playoffs or going to the Super Bowl, I am collecting those bets. Like I said, your money is safe with bet with Pags, and because it's better in my pocket than in your guys if you want to bet on the Giants.
Pags, you know what the difference, me and you, as opposed to Mac and Byron, is? We take accountability. We take responsibility. Neither of these two guys do. I wish I had a replay of last year. Byron talking about Coach Judge, how Coach Judge is going to do this, and Mac also, Coach Judge, he's in firm control, the future looking up. Byron, Coach Dable, he cut Blake Martinez. What the heck are the Giants doing? That's the emotional leader. Those guys have big egos now, and who are running the Giants. Blake Martinez? Come on, man.
Sometimes you have to do that. Blake Martinez is not young anymore. Anybody that's over the age of 26, 27, you really skating on ice anyway.
These guys would have cut Harry Carson, if they had the opportunity.
No, I don't think so. But I'm just telling you, Blake Martinez, it was something that happened last year probably that made him decide to cut it because, you don't get hurt and stay on injured reserve.
He was out for the year.
Yeah, you don't get hurt and stay on injured reserve the whole year. With technology and the way medicine is now, you got to come back and play.
And Blake Martinez.
Yeah, but he wasn't ACL. It wasn't ACL. It wasn't like he had a broken finger. Well, I fully expect that the Eagles are going to sign him to a 1-year deal, a prove it to me deal, and because that's exactly what happens with Howie Roseman. Howie Roseman likes upgrading his personnel with these show me contracts, and this is another one where it could be a really nice, a good situation for him, staying in division, getting to go up against the Giants twice a year, and it would still be an upgrade to our linebacker position.
Yeah, I was shocked that they did release him. He's still a great linebacker. I would have somehow seen how he could have fit into the mission of the vision of the game of the team. So it was a shock.
There's other moves they could have made. They didn't have to cut Blake Martinez. They got a lot of moves they could have made that they did, Byron.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, sometimes the personality conflicts, but Brian Daboll might be a difficult guy to get along with. Him might be all business to the point of being over the top. An example would be, and this is obscure, Chris Snee was doing some scouting for the Giants, but he quit because he said him and Brian Daboll just weren't on the same page. It's like Brian Daboll is looking to get rid of everyone there from the past, him and the GM Joe Shine, and just set up their own guys. And my feeling is the only reason Daniel Jones is the quarterback of the Giants is because of their ownership. And Brian Daboll got the job based on having to straighten Daniel Jones out. He was made to understand Daniel Jones is the quarterback, and he had to accept that. He had to.
At least for 1 year. Yeah, exactly.
1 year, exactly. I feel Daniel Jones is really on thin ice. I think if he struggles a little, he might have a short leash. And this way, Brian Daboll could then say to ownership, look, I tried. We gave him the opportunity. We got us so-and-so. But I don't know whether they have any competent backups. You know what? Brandon Webb, supposedly.
Tyrod Taylor.
But didn't Tyrod just get hurt? He's going to be out for a few weeks.
On and off. Well, he's a competent career backup, Tyrod Taylor. He even once made a Pro Bowl. And he was going to be given the Charger job over Justin Herbert when Herbert was a rookie, which I thought was a terrible mistake. but unfortunately for Taylor, but fortunately for the Chargers, a doctor screwed up, and Taylor had to miss the beginning of the year. It was a terrible thing. Injustice done to Tyrod Taylor. I feel for him. That was inexcusable, but he's a competent backup. You get guys like Tyrod Taylor, Jacoby Brissett. They're competent backups, guys like that. You want them on your team, but you don't want them as a long-term quarterback, I think. What do you think of that, Byron?
Yeah, exactly right. These guys have been around the league. They've been in and out of the locker room. They can bring some expertise and help the younger players as well in all those positions. But yeah, they are definitely backup quarterbacks.
Well, here goes Carlos. Taylor's play better than Daniels, and Meadowlands better.
That was a tough English sentence there, but especially since the Meadowlands has been closed for how long?
I mean, they do talk about the wind and how you have to sling that tight spiral in the wind there. That Phil and Eli had to do. So
yeah, exactly.
That's what he's talking.
Yeah, that wind in October, the month of October, November, you better be ready to be able to throw that ball in MetLife, in the new stadium. So
can't they schedule the games, Byron, a little more weather friendly? For example, in September, I don't think there should be home games in Florida because the humidity, it's awful. So let the Floridian teams, the Dolphins, the Buccaneers, the Jaguars, let them play on the road during that time. And let the Packers be at home, early in the year most of the time, not in December. Kind of do it weather friendly. Do it for the fans.
No, you can't do that, Jack. You can't do that because some teams will be 0-6 and like the Cardinals were 11-0 last year. That you don't want that advantage for certain teams. No, I don't think that would work.
Well, they could take advantage of it early in the year. Okay, early in the year, if you just hold your own on the road, then you're going home. But
you know what? In the NFL, they never have scheduled 3 games at home in a row. It's always 2 games you have to go, versus 1 game and go or whatever. It's never been 3 games in a row. You can't do that. It's just not. Well,
it's funny that you say that because for the last 3 years, the Eagles have had 3 games on the road.
Yeah.
That have happened. And when you're saying games at home, they've had 2 games and a bye week and then another home game. So they have had 3 consecutive home games, but not, but also stopped by a bye week in the mix of that. But, 3 years ago, we had the October where every game, we didn't play a home game in October. And then this year we also have the same. We have 3 away games in a row.
In October?
Not this October. We have 3 away games. It was a couple of years ago when they thought the reason why that occurred was because they thought the Phillies were going to make the playoffs. So they scheduled every Eagles game for the month of October away. Right. And because of that, it was tough October.
And I think that had something to do with the Santa Claus snowball throwing.
It was October. And first off, you weren't even alive, Mac, and you're pretty old. You weren't even alive when they threw snowballs at Santa. So unless you were there and you actually could pull up a clip of the story, you can't talk about it.
But everybody know back in the day, the Eagles always had home field advantage when they played their games at home. No matter what the records were, it's just because of the way the fans are and the way that turf was. I mean, the Eagles had the advantage.
Yeah, there's Alan.
What was the hardest place to play? Was Philadelphia about the hardest place for visiting player to go to because of the intimidation factor with the fans, the field, the hostile atmosphere? Was it hostile?
I would say so. Philadelphia is one of the places that you really better be focused when you go in there to play. No doubt.
What was that last comment, Pal? What was that last comment that he was talking about mosquitoes or something? Yeah, there you go. So it's supposed to be played.
So if you want to play football, in a swarm of mosquitoes, you got to have some bounce in your pockets. You have to have that dryer sheets. Dryer sheets keep the bugs away. Got to know those little tips of the trade there. Yeah. If you want to be able to keep bugs away, dryer sheets do that pretty well.
So Byron, we're not asking you for prediction yet. Our predictions start on Sunday and then carry on through the week. But what are you most looking forward to in the NFL season this year as a fan?
Well, mostly with all these new games, Thursday night games and Sunday night games, Monday night games, I'm excited that, how these schedules are going to be and the way that these teams be able to position themselves for a playoff run. You got that extra week. They started it last year. And, it's just going to be exciting to watch because there was a lot of free agents, a lot of movement this offseason. And, Russell Wilson just signed a new contract yesterday. So things are still moving. And so you look for some excitement. And but basically, it's kind of be unpredictable. Like, you might know the top 10 teams, but after that, any and everything can happen.
And what would be exciting would be the Jets and Jack again, right? With we already know that the Jets are going to stink again this year, so that's it.
And I was
looking going to improve. The Jets are going to be better.
One of the things that happened with the Jets this year, a lot of people went and got their people that they were going to put on the practice roster. They got like 7 players that was taken by other teams from the Jets, and a lot of teams took some of the players, secondary players.
Yeah, the Jets are pretty deep on the receiving core. Too, when you look at it, they're going to beat out one team this year. I mean, you have to feel the Bills are practically a lock to make the playoffs, okay? Miami, I understand the addition Tyreek Hill, Waddle at the other position, wide out, and Tua supposedly is going to continue his improvement. They're supposed to have a good defense, the Dolphins. I'm not overly sold on them. I'm going to say this, even though I'm not crazy about Brian Flores' lawsuit, because had Brian Flores gotten a giant head coaching job, he wouldn't have been talking about social justice. I think his heart was broken not getting a job in his hometown. But he's a heck of a coach. And the Dolphins losing him as a coach, okay, that can't help the organization, because I thought Brian Flores was one of the best coaches in the NFL, but he did lose his job there for whatever reason. And, okay, it's questionable, but I'm high on him from my end at least, and I'm entitled to have that opinion. I think that hurts the Dolphins, and, this season coming up. But, we'll see.
I think the key factor for the Dolphins is going to be quarterback play. If Tua can get off to a good start, I think they'll have a lot of momentum going into the season. And that's the key factor, I think, in my opinion.
We talked, right, Pags, about quarterbacks and Montana, what he did, how it wasn't, he didn't have a strong arm. He just got rid of the ball faster, to hit him in the routes. And Jalen Hurts, we're hoping that he can learn to do the same thing too. So, maybe him working on what Brady did help him a little bit, getting rid of the ball faster. But yeah, I mean, if you look at it, Montana and a few other quarterbacks, they really did know how to hit the players in stride, before they even really got started in their patterns. So.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree with that totally.
Yeah. So there's some interesting lines. I know that you guys don't necessarily consider the gambling lines and really don't care much about them, but there were some interesting lines that I saw at the beginning of the season, obviously, starting with the Thursday night game. Now, I don't know how interested you guys are in this, but the Bills versus the Rams in LA, what would you expect that line to be?
I'm thinking 44 and 3-point favorite for the Bills.
Actually, you're close with that. The Bills are 2.5 point.
Okay.
The over-unders haven't really come out yet, but
I want you guys to remember something. Last season, the first game of the season, the Packers got routed. I think it was by the New Orleans Saints. They got beaten badly.
Yeah.
So you'd think, wow, this might be a long year for the Packers. Aaron Rodgers missed a lot of training camp. They wound up having the best regular season, the Packers, in the NFL.
Yeah.
And week one was a disaster. I don't know what's going to happen with the Rams and the Bills week one, but whatever happens, it's kind of a long season. I wouldn't read too much into one game. It happens there. I mean,
as we said yesterday, in week 1 and 2, there are some anomalies that will occur in these games. That there's going to be a big underdog that's going to come out and just
yeah,
and win by a tremendous amount, and it will. Like I said, there was a lot of people. If you do a suicide pool, there was a lot of people that lost by picking the Packers in week 1. But I also feel that you can't pick when you're in a suicide pool, and that's like you only pick the winner. You don't pay with points or anything like that. That you can't pick a divisional game in the first couple of weeks of the season. Maybe after some of the dust settles from the first couple of weeks, that's when you can start to do that. But for the most part, you want to stay away from divisional games. You want to take almost sure things, and that's hard to do in the first couple of weeks of any NFL season because there are the anomalies that occur.
Yeah. And then you got to think about the majority of your superstars didn't play in preseason. They didn't hardly play none, not take any snaps. So yeah, you're exactly right.
I want to get Byron's take on this because he'd be more qualified than any of us. Aaron Rodgers' group of receivers. My feeling is, as the year goes along, they're going to get better and better because Aaron Rodgers is working with them. And someone is going to emerge, namely Sammy Watkins, I think. If Sammy Watkins stays healthy with Aaron Rodgers throwing to him, he's going to be close to the caliber of Davante Adams by the end of the year. Because I think Aaron Rodgers is going to bring out the best in Sammy Watkins, who's already an established receiver when he's healthy with a lot of upside. I mean, what do you think? Is that too bold a statement to think he might be close to Davante Adams by the end of the year?
Maybe so. If he can stay healthy.
Yeah.
And I think he would probably at least get 1,000 yards. I don't know if he get over 1,200 yards, but probably, I can see him getting 1,000 yards, maybe 8 to 10 touchdowns.
Yeah. I got to go along with that.
So there you go. So maybe that'll be one of the picks for Byron as we do on next Wednesday. We are going to have the first ever live fantasy football draft between both the J&B Talking Shop and
I disagree.
the NFC East show.
Touchdown catches, at least for Sammy Watkins.
Pags, get a hold of Robert, too. He's really good at fantasy football, so he'll add a lot to the show with you.
Okay. Very good. We could have him come join the team. We could use 8 players. We could have 8 players really to do the draft. 6 is a weird number, but we'd all have all-star teams. It would be okay that way.
Oh wait, we got to also what we saw. Pags, Byron's a Hall of Famer himself.
Yes, that's what I said. I introduced him as one of the new inductees to the Texas Sports Hall of Fame, inducted with George Foreman and Eric Dickerson.
Eric Dickerson.
How did it feel being with George Foreman and Eric Dickerson standing next to Byron? That'd have been awesome.
It felt really good. We had these purple suits on, and it got the big logo right here, and it was really good because George is so funny. He's hilarious. He's always keeping upbeat, and it was really funny. And to be in the same room with those guys and hear the story that they told, it's really good. George said that he didn't want to confuse none of the kids. That's why he named all his boys George. So,
but that's exactly. I was going to ask how many George Foremans were in the room during the induction.
I think it was 4 of his kids there, and his wife was there, of course. But his daughter named Georgette. So
Georgette, right.
It was fun. It was really fun to see the family and to hear the story that he told. He sat on a portable and he just went on and on and on. It was just fun. It was hilarious. But it was a really great time. I wish I could have videotaped it.
Yeah.
Did he bring any grills with him?
No,
I'm sure he still making tons of money on them
He
grills.
many years ago, he sold his rights for 137 million.
Jeez.
And but he agreed to stay on as a spokesman, as well. But he hit it good, with the grills. I guess it was in demand. It's hit and miss. Evander Holyfield tried barbecue sauce. It didn't quite hit the same way. But sometimes you get the right thing, the right gimmick, and people love it. And people started loving the barbecue grill. And he was a great spokesman because he loved to talk about eating.
Yes. And they supposed to this week. We was talking about building houses for homeless vets in Houston, and they probably been acquiring all these acreage, and they're gonna start building. And he's a part of that. And I was on the phone with them about doing some of that community outreach stuff.
Yeah,
nice, very nice. Yeah. So, and it's funny that you mentioned Evander Holyfield, as he's been in commercials as of late, or at least one commercial that I've seen him. He still looks like he could box right now. No, he still
and his
keeps himself
son,
in
I don't
pretty
know,
good shape.
Byron, how familiar you are with his son, Evan Holyfield, the running back.
Yeah, I heard a little bit about him. Yeah.
Yeah, he was with the Eagles. Was it the practice squad or the regular squad?
Yeah, he made it on the practice squad. I think he suited up for a couple of games, but never really got any game play.
Yeah, he wasn't drafted, as I recall. He was signed as a free agent out of Georgia. So,
Right.
But the idea that you can make an NFL roster not having been drafted, that's quite an accomplishment.
So Alan says, who's a team you guys could feel could come out of nowhere?
Well, we're going to have our predictions, I think, on Sunday.
Yeah, but that has nothing to do with predictions. He's talking about like where we think of that could possibly be a surprise in the NFL this year.
Minnesota Vikings and New York Giants.
Yes, New York Giants.
Do the Vikings qualify as a team out of nowhere? The Giants would qualify as that type of team. But considering the Vikings lost so many nail biters last year, a play here, play two, would have gotten them in the playoffs last year. Would it really be an out of nowhere type thing if the Vikings did go to the playoffs? I'm not sure. I think Jacksonville would be an out of nowhere team. They qualify. Houston, teams like that. Look, if we asked that question last year, the Bengals would have qualified, and they went to the Super Bowl. Let me ask you this, Byron. Was it a good idea? And to me, the answer is no. But what do you think to have allowed the Bengals to scrimmage with the Rams? Because Pags pointed out a really interesting thing. There's so much trash talk going on in these scrimmages. The Bengal players don't need to hear from the Rams, we got the ring. They don't need to be reminded of that nonsense. I wouldn't have if I'm the coach of the Bengals, I don't allow them to scrimmage with the Rams.
Well, that's part of what the NFL is doing now. They want these teams to have the scrimmage before they play the preseason game. But, these guys are always trying to, make the team. So in practice, it's just like, I got to look good on tape. I got to look good on video. And that's what happened. These guys wanted to go up against Aaron Donald. So that's what happened.
Let me it's funny about surprises. This is for all of us. Which quarterback is going to be the the most pleasant surprise of this season? No one asks that.
Kirk Cousins.
Kirk Cousins, who he's been around, but he's never really taken that serious next step. Interesting.
We'll know in week number 2 if he's going to be able to get over the fact that he's playing in a big game where the spotlight's on him. He comes up very small. He shrinks in the big spots, and that's the reason why I don't think he's going to be any.
How about Minshew? Minshew would qualify.
Minshew, oh man.
Minshew's not even a starter. Yeah, I know that you guys keep a lot. You can keep thinking all you want there. Yeah, Mac. Yeah, I mean, that's all right. Daniel Jones. I mean, you guys could trade for Minshew up there because Daniel Jones stinks out loud. He's not going to. He's going to quit on the team because they're not giving him any vote of confidence up there.
If we do that, we also need some draft picks on top of that. So
But the good
For
thing
what?
about it,
So I'm going to give you Minshew and draft picks for you to take him, right? That's what you're asking for. Now,
Exactly.
obviously, Mac, you're losing it up top. Senility's starting to fit in, and you're just trying to figure out whatever you can. The Giants stink.
Hey, this the last year the Giants gonna have a quarterback problem. We got some great quarterbacks gonna get drafted next year, and the Giants gonna get one of the best quarterbacks next year. Watch what I tell you.
That means they're not having a good year this year. But Byron, in Mac's opinion, what do you think of this? The Eagles should start Minshew over Jalen Hurts.
Yes.
What do you think?
Yes.
I don't think so.
Mac feels that way because he feels Minshew has a Warriors mentality, and Hurts is a nice young man, but maybe too polite to be in that position of quarterback. He's too nice. Minshew's got that fire that the Eagles need.
Well, Jalen Hurts, if he don't do it the first 4 weeks, this going to dictate how he can control the team and set it off. If he's not able to do that, then the Eagles will be. It'll be a long season for the Eagles for sure.
What about Carson Wentz? Carson's at a disadvantage. They didn't get him the same weapons that the Eagles are giving to Jalen Hurts. Right. Jalen Hurts has everything he needs there on offense. Everything.
He should have no excuses. You're absolutely right.
Right, but Carson Wentz doesn't quite have this, as many. They didn't go out the offseason and get him the same weapons that they got Hurts and Miami got for Tua,
Well, I don't feel sorry for Carson Wentz because he had everything he needed last year. He blew his opportunity.
Exactly. Could have. All he had to do was just win one of his last 2 games, and he couldn't do it.
He couldn't do it.
Bomb.
Well, guys,
That's why San Diego could have played for the tie.
It's still a team sport.
That's why San Diego should have been in the playoffs.
It's still a team sport. It's you could blame Wentz all you want, but the whole team didn't play the way it was supposed to play.
Yeah,
Byron. Aaron Donald swinging the helmet in practice. We didn't like it, but maybe it shows the fire, the competitive spirit is still there after winning a Super Bowl. Some people are whispering that Aaron Donald could conceivably be the greatest defensive force in the history of the NFL. Would you put him up there with LT?
No.
Not right now. No.
Or Alan Page, for that matter. Or Alan Page.
Oh, no, he's ahead of Alan Page.
Oh, please, Jeff. Alan Page was the MVP, one of the first MVPs on defense in the history of football, and was incredible. For his size on the inside, he was built more like a linebacker, but he had such speed that the offense couldn't handle him.
He had great players around him, too. He had Carl Eller playing next to him. Come on.
Sure, Jim Marshall.
Taylor's one of the best on defense.
Yes,
it's hard to compare anybody with him right now.
No doubt.
Especially while he's still playing.
Yes. So,
well, I like I said, I have just different opinions on how they should have dealt with the fact that he, was swinging that helmet, and I understand that the NFL doesn't have a say in this, but I think that rule will wind up changing next year. Because they're going to, the NFL gets video of every practice. So that they saw what happened there.
Well, that's one of the things. That's one of the things that need to consider when they have in a squad practices and during preseason. They got to come in with some type of guideline to make sure the guys are protected. On all circumstances in games as well as in practice competition as well.
Question to ask this. I mean, the NFL has a brotherhood between the players, because are supposed to have. But guys, especially the ones who are trying to make the team or trying to get a starting position, the cheap shots go on during these scrimmages because that's the one thing that players resent, a cheap shot that could get them conceivably injured. Does that go on?
Sometimes it does. It don't go on as much as you would think, but most guys know what the limitations are, and they know that certain things are not tolerated. And then it's still up to the coaches and the head coaches to make sure everybody is on the same page, because you don't want to hurt your teammates and you don't want to hurt a player. That's key. That's a key component of the season for your team, right? So, those things do happen every now and then, but mostly, they be more in a control type setting than the practice. And you hardly ever see that though. You hardly ever see guys.
Is the refereeing more lax? I mean, are there less calls? Because I could just picture a receiver being held just enough where he can't make the catch, and the cornerback saying, "I'm shutting you down, boy. You can't do a thing with me." And he knows he was held, and he's not getting a call, and he wonders, do the coaches see this? Do the coaches really see everything, or they just see the end result?
Well, I want to say this: in today's society, they do invite the officials in to come in and do the control scrimmages and stuff like that, which help game type scenarios. So that's one of the things that they have added. That they have a lot of referees come during time when they think they're gonna get real activity like game type situation, and they bring referees in to make sure that everybody understand the concept of what they're trying to do.
Great stuff.
Interesting stuff. So there. And real quick, Byron, how are things going? I know I sent the video of all your highlights of the NFLPA to try to become the new president of the NFLPA Veterans Committee. How are things going on that campaign trail?
Well, it's good. It's good. We got a meeting next Thursday. Buffalo Bills against the Rams. We're gonna be here in Dallas. We're gonna be at Texas Live. And we're going to invite all the players out and get football atmosphere, because these guys been getting the cobwebs and they're thinking about this and that. We really going to get football started here in Dallas, in Arlington. And, we're going to get these old guys off their seat and on their feet to make sure they can go and eat and have some fun for football. So we just going to have a good time, Exactly where you were last year, Pat, when you came down here. That's where we're going to be next week.
Yeah, well, and that's a great spot over there. Obviously, the first one was built in Philly, and then the moment that they went to Texas, everything's bigger in Texas. So that whole arena, as you will, is a great spot. And if you ever make it down to Dallas Stadium or are going down there for a game, you definitely got to go hang at Texas Live, as that place is lively all the time down there. And like as a single guy myself, I like going to spots where there's a lot of action happening, and you definitely get that at Texas Live down there.
That was the first time I seen Texas Live had so much green on, because you was all painted up and all the people was coming out in their green. So it was a great time, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, absolutely, because us Eagles fans know how to travel, much better than most of the other. There's a couple of fan bases that know how to travel within the NFL. I mean, I can't say that it's just the Eagles itself, but
yeah, Green Bay and Pittsburgh would be two of those teams back.
Exactly.
Yeah. But Green Bay travels a little bit. It's mostly fans in the rest of the country that come out to Green Bay. But if you live in Green Bay, you don't really leave Green Bay very much, so it's all the fans everywhere else, but like 49ers fan, they have fans everywhere too.
Well, what about the Ram fans? They don't even come to their own home games.
Ram fans. That's why. Did you see how many they had? Tens of people out on the streets, after the Super Bowl win. They were having tea. They were like cheersing with coffee cups.
Wouldn't you say you would put the Raiders in that discussion too? They got fans all over.
Yes.
Wait. Oh, you mean the Raiders? Do they have more fans in Oakland than Las Vegas? They never should have went to Las Vegas. Las Vegas should have just gotten an expansion team. Oakland was loyal to the Raiders. Don't get me started with that. That was one of the great fan bases to me.
It comes the matter of a stadium. That's what they needed. They wanted a stadium. Oakland
San Diego, they were good fans.
Exactly. They didn't want to build them a stadium.
Yeah.
Well, LA, the Chargers are going to be moving back to San Diego, correct? They're building a stadium down there for them. Is that not correct?
I hadn't heard. I don't know.
I'm not sure.
I don't know either. So
I just left now to go back to San Diego. It would take the LA football fans about 6 weeks to notice they left. Okay, that's
right.
To give you an fan base. But now that the Raiders in Las Vegas, I'd like to see them go back to Oakland and Las Vegas be given, an expansion team. Because
I mean,
is that the long snapper?
That wouldn't be a bad idea.
Future long snapper.
Yeah, you're the long snapper. Future of the Giants long snapper.
Get a job there. That's the way to go.
Hey,
long
Hey, that's
snapping.
Lincoln right there. Lincoln don't play. He got 10 goals last week, so he don't round.
Well, he could play another position besides long snapper. I didn't say exclusively there. You know, you could be receiver / long snapper. That versatility. That's
Right.
the way
And
to
you're
go.
saying he scored 10 goals. 10 goals. That sounds like he's a soccer player.
Yeah, he's a soccer player too.
Come
What
on,
position?
Lincoln.
What position?
What position you play in soccer?
Goalie.
Oh, yeah.
Point guard. And point
Goalie and striker? If he's scoring 10 goals, he's got to be striking.
Yes, goal, striker, and point guard. He said he played them all.
There you go.
Yeah,
There you go.
Eventually, it sorts itself out.
Hey, the
Yeah.
next 2 days we in training over here. We don't sleep long. We in training, so we got to get them up and going.
Just have the Gatorade ready for him.
Oh, I got some plenty of Gatorade.
Gatorade.
There you
that's
go.
it.
There you go.
Different
Jim
flavors.
Brown.
Different flavors.
Well, Byron, I don't know if you're able to stay, but we got to go to a quick commercial break. So you're more than welcome to stay with us, as Keith is unable to do that because he is out of the country today. He is up in Montreal doing this thing. So feel free to stick around if you'd like. If you can't, we understand. But we have to go to a quick commercial break, and we'll be back right after these commercial messages. Where am I going to start? So let's start with mine. Here we go.
Mr. Green? Mr. Green,
Yeah.
you need any help?
Mm-mm.
I just want you to know, I think you're the best ever.
Yeah, sure.
Want my Coke? It's okay, you can have it.
No.
Really, you can have it.
Okay.
Coke and a smile makes me feel good, makes me feel nice.
See you around.
That's the way it should be. I like to see
Hey, kid.
the whole world smiling with me. Coca-Cola as life. Have a Coke and
Thanks, Mean Joe.
smile.
You know, one of the best things about being an ex-big leaguer is getting freebies to the game. Call the front office, bingo. And once these fans recognize me, I probably won't even have to pay for my light beer from Miller. Down it, I love them. These fans know I drink light because it's less filling and it tastes great. Good seats, huh?
You're in the wrong seat, buddy. Come on.
Oh, I must be in the front row.
Come on.
Light beer from Miller. Everything you always wanted in a beer and less.
Good seats, hey, buddy. He missed the tag. He missed the tag.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you. Your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov, a public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
I mean, you can see right now, without LeBron, Lakers are struggling.
Let me tell you about a team I hate, all right? I know the Dallas Cowboy fan is here, so I had to make sure he knew how much I hate this team.
I'm ready. I've often said that the people who run baseball, they try very hard to ruin it.
I'm from Brooklyn. I don't have a problem saying it to his face. Oh, I'm from Brooklyn. Hey, get any.
And we are back to the Mac and Jack Friday edition show. And we got to keep Byron. Byron got to stay with us for a little longer. We appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I want to do something. I want to talk about a fantasy component, and I want to say the arm race. The arm race. It's gonna be Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, and Joe Burrow. They're my top 3 quarterbacks. The good hand people gonna be Cooper Kupp, Jamar Chase, and Justin Jefferson. Okay. Now running up the points. Gonna be Jonathan Taylor, of course, Derrick Henry, and I think Najee Harris with the Steelers. Okay.
How about the Colts? How about the Colts running back?
Well, I said, yeah.
Jonathan Taylor.
Jonathan Taylor. Okay, up tight and out of sight. Of course, you got my man Travis Kelce, and I'm thinking Kyle Pitt gonna surprise some people. Okay. Now you got to get a kick out of these guys. Justin Tucker. You know, you ain't got to look nowhere else. Okay?
I tell you, I'm feeling really excited because you're naming a lot of players that are on my fantasy squad for the one game I've already chosen.
Now I'm going here. Old faces and new places. Russell Wilson. Okay. And, you know, everybody talking about Tyreek Hill and Devontae Adams, but Russell Wilson is the old faces in new places. And my last list of catch a rising star is gonna be that wide receiver in Detroit, Jameson Williams. And I think that's my inside from my side of town.
Well, Jameson Williams might not play for a while. Okay, because the guy who got drafted by the Lions.
Right, he's a wide receiver, though.
Jameson Williams. He's going to be a rising star, though. I'm just saying a rising star.
Yeah. The only thing I'd say, I like your selections. I don't play fantasy. It sounds good. But last season, did he solve the problem? You could relate to this. The Bengal receiver who had all those drops, their great receiver.
Jamar Chase. At the beginning of the season. Yeah.
He had a lot of drops.
He sat out the whole year before at LSU because of the COVID situation. So
So I agree kind of with the Jameis one. I think that he's a good pick for.
And Kyle Pitts can't be a surprise. He was outstanding last year for the Falcons.
No, he didn't say surprise that he just put him in the top the top couple tight ends, obviously behind Kelce. And I have Pitts, I have Henry, I have Debo Samuel, which you didn't mention, but I got him on my list.
He
I have
was on
Jason.
His name was next.
And I have Jason Tucker as my kicker. So it's like these guys are all on my fantasy squad already. My quarterback is Lamar Jackson though. So I have him.
Byron does look a lot smarter with those glasses on too.
Well, if Byron, but once again, Byron isn't making the big gutsy move that I would have liked to have seen him make. I mean, I wanted to see Byron go on the limb for his quarterback, take Geno Smith, who's starting. He's got DK Metcalf to throw to. It would have been a gutsy move, but yeah.
I like Geno Smith from the beginning, to be honest with you. So just because he had some startup with the Jets, I think that's why you mentioned his name.
Well, he's the starter for the Seahawks. Carroll's got all this faith in him. He's got one of the prime receivers in the NFL, DK Metcalf.
But it still boils down to the offensive coordinator and how they call their plays. I'm telling you, that's not gonna be a good thing for the Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah, and I think DK Metcalf is going to be crying about how that he doesn't have a quarterback to really throw to him, and that he misses Russell Wilson.
Yeah, that's gonna be a problem. That would be a problem.
So that's why I don't believe DK Metcalf is a good choice.
I'm going to tell you, there's some fascinating storylines. Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill is saying all the right things, and he's smiling, and he's building Tua up. But, when you leave Patrick Mahomes, I mean, you're leaving the elite of the elite. Yeah. Now you're going to Tua, who I think is going to be better than he was last year. I think Tua could have a good year, but you're leaving Patrick Mahomes. It's like, be careful what you wish for. If you're leaving him because of the contract, that's good. But understand, it's going to be difficult. And you got Jalen Waddle at the other side, so he's going to take away some of your catches, I'm sure.
Exactly. And I tell you this, too. It's going to be a different spin of the ball because he's left-handed. And so it's going to be a different spin. So hopefully – that he'll see, he's gonna see the difference immediately,
Yeah, I think you got all practice in that to work on that, Byron. So he'll get.
Now you got Devontae Adams, same thing. He's with Derek Carr. He's with his old college quarterback, so that's great. They got a relationship there, and obviously they had a great relationship in college. So it's like you're going home again in a certain sense, but you're leaving Aaron Rodgers, man. I mean. For Derek Carr is good, but Aaron Rodgers is legendary. So, you kind of wonder with Devontae Adams. Once again, I got the feeling with Devontae Adams it was more than just the contract. Something about him kind of wanted to go, leave Green Bay. I got that feeling.
And then another thing, too, you got to consider the routes that these guys run. Green Bay run a lot of vertical routes and not outside routes versus some of these other teams inside routes. So some of the things ain't gonna be the same. It's gonna be just like Tyreek Hill. They run a lot of vertical in Kansas City, and they don't do that in Miami. So it's just gonna be the style of offense they put these guys in as well. They're gonna consider whether or not they could be able to make the same type of impact plays that they've been making, last year and year before.
Great point, Byron.
This Russell Wilson deal, Byron. They invested in him basically the next 7 years. They're all in on Russell Wilson. I'm a little nervous from Denver's side, if I'm, in the front office or whatever. Maybe they're not, but they maybe had no choice but to go all in on Russell Wilson. But I'm going to tell you, it's a question of how much Russell Wilson has left. He's a future Hall of Famer. We're not, I'm not debating that. He's already done enough to get there. But Russell Wilson's best years ahead of him.
I think it's going to be considering how they can get these young, like they got a good running back, Javonte Williams, number 33. He gonna do some exciting things, I think, but I just think they still got the pieces, and they got a couple of. Their defense is tough. They was number 3 last year in defense, right. So I'm thinking they're gonna be pretty average, pretty good. it's just gonna be they're in a tough division. That's all. If they can stay healthy, they'll make the playoff run because Russell can get them there.
And a lot of people overlook what you're talking about with the defense. That a lot of it has to do with field position, right? I mean, how you call the plays, and if you don't have good field position for the game and you're back in your own end zone, again, it's going to affect the way you call plays. You're going to run instead of pass, and as opposed to being the halfway point, well, you'll open it up a lot faster.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
What are the Ravens supposed to do with the Lamar Jackson situation? Are they supposed to be all in Lamar Jackson? I'm not sure. I'm not sure that Lamar Jackson is the long-term solution for the Ravens. But then again, Lamar Jackson has done some great things in the past, and he's certainly young enough. That's the thing with Lamar Jackson. He is young enough.
My thing with Lamar Jackson, he needed a good agent. He needed somebody to really come in and help him navigate through the process and negotiate.
I'm not sure that's the case. I think
that's it. That's the case. I'm thinking that's the problem that he's having.
Yeah, mom is not the answer, Lamar.
But how do we know? How do we know his mom can't handle it okay?
I'm not saying she can't. I'm not saying she can't, but I'm telling you, people that with smart agents and financial advisor could have gotten that done a long time ago. That's my take on it.
Does he really need to pay X amount? How much would an agent get in Lamar Jackson's case? About 5%?
Yeah, that's negotiable. You can go down to 1%. Anybody take him as a client for 1%, 2%. It's not that much money. It's all tax write-off anyway for the player.
And Carlos is all over the offensive coordinator saying, he has no creativity there. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think they're more than one-dimensional. And again, he runs the high school college playbook. Well, that's what the NFL has come to, right? That's what we're going off of right now, right?
They throwing that ball.
Well, I'm interested. I'm interested to see, obviously, because I don't think the Ravens are going to get a contract on him, which means that they're going to have to make a decision on whether and I expect that they'll franchise Lamar Jackson next year if they don't sign.
They could, but the problem with doing that, if you keep franchising a guy year by year, you're paying him a lot more money than you would on a long-term deal.
Yeah, but the first franchise isn't the biggest deal. Like the first franchise, you get the average of the top 5. So, and then you have to get the top 1, and then you get above top 1. So you have 3 options for franchise play. To do the franchise tag. So the first time you use the franchise tag isn't a real big deal. However, I'd be interested to see if they actually go that route, or if they are able to get something figured out with him within the next week. Because he said.
Speaking of the Ravens quarterback situation, that second stringer didn't look bad at all. I mean, he was throwing the ball great. He was running with the ball great. So, if Jackson's gone, they got an answer already.
No, I'm not sure. People forget how great Lamar Jackson was early last year. I mean, he was sensational. People forget, but then he got hurt, so we forget how good he was. The thing is, going forward, does the league catch up to a guy like Lamar Jackson? Did the defensive coordinators put a lid on his game, more or less? Can they catch up to him, or can Lamar Jackson keep it going if he's healthy? To me, he should be able to keep it going if he's healthy, if Lamar Jackson plays smart, meaning he knows when to hit the deck on a run, doesn't try to pick up extra yards. Because I'm going to tell you, Lamar Jackson healthy is the best running back in the NFL if you allow him to do his thing, okay? But coaches usually don't like it. They try to make him a pocket passer, and that inhibits him. But Harbaugh is a smart coach there with the Ravens. He's been there forever, and he knows what he's doing. So Lamar Jackson has one of the better coaches in the NFL.
The Giants, there is no way they could get Lamar Jackson. What are you talking about? There's no way they could get him.
Well, if he's a free agent eventually.
I still don't think that they would be able to get him.
We don't know how good Zach Wilson's going to be, whether Zach Wilson's going to be good at all or not for the Jets. The jury is still out. Same with Daniel Jones. This is make or break for Daniel Jones. It's not quite make or break for Zach Wilson. I think if Zach Wilson shows basic improvement, the Jets are going to stick with him. They invested too much. Daniel Jones has got to show more than marginal improvement, I feel this is it for Daniel Jones. What do you think, Byron? This is do or die for Daniel Jones's career as a Giant. He's got to show he's the guy. He can't just show improvement.
Yeah, it's do or die for him, no doubt. He got to do it this year, and hopefully he'll get it done.
Hold on. I hear it. Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, I hear the trumpet in the background. They're already playing taps for Daniel Jones. So
I'm predicting.
Does Saquon Barkley have to have one of those years too, or will they let him slide one more year?
Yeah.
Saquon Barkley's a sensational talent. Guys, I'm making a prediction here. If Mitch Trubisky somehow loses his starting job with the Steelers at some point, he's going to be the starter.
You say he's going to.
Brian DeBall and Joe Shine are going to want him on the Giants. It depends, whether they make a deal there, because Kenny Pickett reportedly is looking good for the Steelers. But logically, it's Mitch Trubisky's job there. And
that's his team. That Kenny Pickett, I would go ahead and give it to Kenny Pickett if I was there.
I wouldn't, Byron. He doesn't have enough experience. He's played in the stadium for a long time, but he just doesn't have the experience Mitch Trubisky has. I mean, when they start throwing things at him that Mitch would already know and would be able to pick up, he's not going to be able to do that.
I have an issue. When players don't want to play for whatever reason. He had a chance to play in a bowl game and he chose not to. And that speaks a lot louder to me than a lot of other things. How do you play for your team all season long, and then the biggest game of your year, you decide, nope, sorry guys, I'm gonna step over here. I'm gonna watch you guys play.
Why didn't he play? But why? What was his reason for not playing?
Injury.
Didn't want to get hurt.
Yeah, injury. He didn't want to take the risk of getting hurt.
Wow, I don't like that. You're with the guys all the time, and then you're worried about. Was he worried about his position in the draft? I'm asking. Listen. I'm a believer. Listen, Mitch Trubisky went to the Steelers with the understanding he'd be given every opportunity to be the starter by Mike Tomlin. I think Mike Tomlin is a very honorable guy, okay, and a great coach and a very smart guy. And he sees, if Kenny Pickett is clearly better than Mitch Trubisky at this point, Mike Tomlin would go with the guy who's giving this team the best chance of winning. We understand that. But all factors equal, it's always been Mitch Trubisky's job to lose. There's the X factor here. Some team is going to want Mason Rudolph. He's got experience. The Steelers trade him. I don't know. They invested a few years in Mason Rudolph. He's the kind of guy you want around still.
Yeah, that's true.
And he was getting some interest from other teams.
Jack and Mason Rudolph, I mean, I don't know what the attraction is there at all, but he's always in Mason Rudolph's corner, always.
I'm predicting a major deal is going to be made next year in the Giant quarterback position, a trade. What do you guys think of that? The Giants trade Daniel Jones to Washington for Carson Wentz. I could see it happening. Daniel Jones struggles. Carson Wentz struggles. I could see Brian DeBall, an offensive guy, feeling he can straighten Carson Wentz out.
As Byron said, we got a heck of a crop of college quarterbacks coming up next year, and the Giants will be all over that.
Yeah, and I don't know that if Carson Wentz doesn't do well in Washington, I just don't know that any other team would take a flyer on him. I think that he would be possible that, yeah, my thought would be is that Minnesota could possibly pick him up as a backup if Washington doesn't want to keep him, because I think that Carson Wentz probably has his biggest fan support in Minnesota. I don't know that anybody else is going to want to give him a starting job if he can't figure it out in Washington.
Yeah,
he's got to have a good year.
Unless he go to Houston, that's only two places.
Byron, when you were a receiver, when you played, were there times that you wanted to talk to the quarterback about certain things on the side?
Absolutely. Yeah,
okay, what would be your feeling if you asked the quarterback, could you talk to him? And he'll say, sure, he's busy right now. He'll get back to you, and he gets back to you the next day.
I wouldn't like
that. Like you the wrong way. That's what went on reportedly with Carson Wentz. Oh, by the way, what did you want to talk to me about yesterday?
Well, one of the things you want to talk about, how can we become successful and some of the best routes are beating the defensive backs out there. I mean, little things like that. You have to have an open mind if you're a team player. You got to look at all the possibilities. So you don't want to, limit yourself, and then you don't want to be a person that not a person that players can walk up to and talk to you about. You got to be a team-oriented type guy.
But is it good for team harmony once the final roster's made, the quarterback taking out all the receivers, tight ends, separately out to dinner, just talk about the team saying, listen, whoever's open, I'm going to throw the ball to. I know I like to spread it out, but some guys might get it a little more than others. If you have a star receiver, if you're Miami and you're taking all the receivers out, if you're Tua and saying, look, obviously Tyreek is, and Waddle are going to get a little more throws, but I'm going to want to involve you guys. And then you turn to Tyreek and Waddle, say, look, I got to get these guys involved too. It's going to help you if I can get them involved as well. But I think the quarterback's got to establish himself as being the leader. Even if you have a great star like a Tyreek Hill, I think a Tua's got to establish himself as the leader and get the message across.
That's all fine too. You still gonna have to have your offense coordinator and receiver coach involved because of the scheme of the play. Every receiver on that team know who's the best receiver. They know who they trying to get the ball to. They know how they building this offense around, off of the tight end combination with the receiver combination. So there are certain type of schemes and things that you want to also, and these players know that. They know the game plan. They know in downs and distance. They know packages. So it's certain type case scenario that, these teams take advantage of. But the quarterback and the receivers, they know every inch of the game of how they need to get these guys open and what set of receivers coming in certain particular downs and distances. So those are the key. You got to be coordinator, huh?
That's like when I interviewed Phil Simms. He said, you knew who the starting quarterback. There was no doubt. The one that was throwing the lasers as opposed to the other one. So yeah, you knew you were the starting quarterback, no matter what the controversy was.
Exactly. There's no doubt. So, and there's also no doubt about the receivers that's gonna be in there and who the key receivers are. I mean, this ball is going to number one receiver, which might be the tight end. This particular play, it might be coming to Tyree Hill the next play on the third play. So those are some of the things that without a doubt who the primary receivers are.
And people don't realize how scripted it is, right? I mean, when you're going into a game, them first 20 plays are scripted no matter what. And, I don't even think it matters what the defense does because, they still got to stop you no matter what you're running. So I think that there's a lot of there should be.
I don't like it, guys. I think you have veteran leadership there on offense. Let the quarterback call the darn plays and just help them. Don't script.
It don't work like
early possession. You don't know what the defense is going to do.
Jack, it doesn't work like that no more. It doesn't.
But it should. It should. That's my point. I know it doesn't work that way anymore. But you got some real. I understand the Jets. You have a young core with Zach Wilson. You're going to script plays for him. You want to help him. You got Aaron Rodgers there. Let Aaron Rodgers just call the darn plays. Be there to help him communicate. Listen, you got a smart young quarterback in New England in Mac Jones. He doesn't need all the chaos around him, who's the offensive coordinator. Mac Jones is a smart mind. He can call his own.
He don't have the experience, though. He don't have all the experience.
He has the experience at Alabama. Come on. He had the experience last year.
It's a different game, man. It's a different game from college.
Yes.
It's totally different.
The biggest problem with what you're saying is vision of the field, Jack. Because when you're on the field, you're in the middle of the fight. You don't see everything that's going on around you. We're up in the booth. They see the whole field. And they're
there to help you. I understand. Listen, you go back. You like to talk about back in the day. Johnny Unitas got ticked off when plays was sent in. Listen, when Don Shula would send plays in, he got really annoyed. When Weeb Eubank, who Johnny Unitas loved Weeb Eubank before Don Shula, if Weeb Eubank sent in a play once in a while, Johnny Unitas didn't resent it because he loved Weeb Eubank.
Hey, that's why they got these iPads. Every time a quarterback come off the field, they doing this. They on these iPads. I'm telling you.
That's fine, but when the quarterback is in, he's got a sense of what to do.
Again,
he knows what to do.
Again, Jack, you're in the middle of the fight. You don't see everything. There's too many things around you to know what's going on at all times. But up in the nest, they see everything all the time, Jack.
All the time. That's why you have to call plays like this. You got to cover your mouth now to call these plays. Oh, you see me? Do you see that? That's what they do.
You think it's right? So you're telling me, in other words, players like a Patrick Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, they shouldn't call their own plays. I know when things are going bad, and there's a very big pass rush. The quarterback doesn't have enough time. No matter who it is, you got to get him help. I understand that. I fully. But in general, the experienced quarterbacks, I feel, can call their own plays, experienced units. They know what they're doing.
We're not saying they don't call their own plays. I'm just saying sometimes they need some insight on making those adjustments. That's why we got audibles. That's why
help. Give them help. Peyton Manning. You mean Peyton Manning needs his plays called for him when he was playing? Come on.
Peyton Manning, but he used a lot of variables when he was out there calling. He used a lot of dummy calls. See, and I'm telling you, it's so much more involved in it, though, Jack. I'm just saying, he had 2 or 3 options on a lot of his plays. Peyton Manning, he had 2 or 3 options. He'll say Ringo. That means they're finna run the ball or something like that. So it's just deciding the way it was. It's just the dynamics of how sophisticated the game have gotten. That's what we're saying. That's all we're saying.
Yeah.
So you feel the play should be called for the quarterback, basically, but he's okay. But it's okay to give him the occasional audible. That's what you guys are saying.
He have that privilege, though. I'm just saying he can do it. Each time you call a play, there's 3 or 4 options of changing that play to certain types of case scenarios. You might want to run a crowd.
Russell Wilson has seen everything in his years of playing quarterback. And at this point, shouldn't Russell Wilson be given the freedom to whatever play he wants to call, get up to the line of scrimmage, know what's going to work, know what he could change? He doesn't need a guy in the booth overruling him.
But I'm telling you, they run over this. This has been rehearsed all throughout the weekend away. Right. I mean, it's just they decide to do it the last. This is rehearsed, and these guys got these many plays. That's why you got these armbands. They got all kind of.
Okay, let's pretend for one moment. Tua comes to the line. He tells his blocker, screw it what they're calling there. Just block for me. The back, stay back. Tyreek, burn him. Go long, baby. I'll get the ball to you. Just give me the time, he tells everyone, and we'll get the ball to Tyreek. And with Tyreek Hill's speed, he just goes long on a fly pattern. and you put it up there for him.
And then you got a safety over the top, and you got double coverage on Tyreek Hill. Now,
yeah, that's the first thing I thought of. That you got three people on Tyreek Hill. You're going to still go
tell
throw it to him.
Jalen Waddle, stay short, Jalen. I'll get something to you. If they cover Tyreek's rear end, I'm going to get the ball to you. You know, cut the middle there. You know, I'll get the ball to you. In that event.
Jack, I'm gonna tell you this. I want you to go and stand on the sideline of an NFL game. It is so fast out there. It will blow your mind. Until you do that, you understand what we're talking about.
And when they do a power sweep, and them linemen and the fullback and the running back are running towards the sideline, that field and them stands start shaking. I mean, it's awesome.
Jack, you be so narrow, you be about to poop in your pants.
No, listen. No, I understand. Listen.
Hey, I got to go because I got to go. I got to go run my grandboys. I'm gonna go run my. We ain't gonna practice on no deep snaps and none of that. We gonna run and heal. We finna go run and heal.
Yeah, you have that young man too. What I need you to do, and this will help him out. I get the feeling he's going to be a good punt returner, that young man. So you be sure. That's your grandson, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know whether you can punt or not, Byron, to him. You know, whether you have that skill to punt the ball to him at all. But he looks like he'll be good at returning punts too. That'll add an element.
We're definitely going out to hit some golf balls because I already told Jim Jeffcoat I can beat him.
Wow, don't bother to teach him golf, Byron. He doesn't waste time with that.
Hey, real quick, Byron, just before you go, because I've been wanting to ask this, but trying to get talk over Jack is really hard to do. You had mentioned on our show on Wednesday that the NFL or maybe some football is starting to figure out where everybody is going to be wearing the wristbands and they're going to call plays that are going to come in on the wristbands. Do you know if the NFL is going to start to go that route? And if that's the case, wouldn't that be even considered like cheating almost?
No, it won't be cheating. What it is technology, and I think it'll be good because now you don't have, with the COVID and everything, now you don't have to have everybody in the huddle. Players just come and you can just read the wristband.
Byron, but they're going to be facing each other on the line of scrimmage, so who cares? It's the same thing.
Yeah, it's the same thing, but my point is you can speed up the game faster. So instead of 35 seconds, you can get plays in within 20 seconds and get the playoffs. So instead of running 80 plays, you can run almost 100 plays. So technology is going to change the game, which makes the game more exciting, which means that you might have your roster to 60 people because you're going to have more
basically what Byron, you're saying the time when you played, those guys would have a hard time keeping up with today's game.
Yeah, and the time I played, we ran about 60 to 65 plays a game. Now they're up to close to 80 plays a game already. I'm telling you, Jack, technology is going to change the whole concept of the game.
Well, and that's what because you mentioned it for too long on our show, but I wanted to bring it up here because I agree. The moment that they go with everybody having a wristband where it's like you're getting a text message on what the next play is going to be, you don't need to have a 40-second clock anymore. You could probably do it with a 32-second clock, like a 30-second clock almost, because everybody's got to play. At the same time, they would know what's going on, so they could already start lining up almost. And then,
you know what they're gonna have? They're gonna have technology on sideline, down and distances. They're gonna know if the guy made a first down, just like they know how fast the guy's running on the football field. Technology gonna change all of this.
Yeah, I think it was the year before Super Bowl I was played. The Colts were playing the Packers to see who would go to the championship game in the Western Division. And the Colts quarterbacks were hurt. Johnny Unitas was out. Their great backup, Gary Quazzo, they had a great backup, was out. So they played a halfback who played quarterback in high school, Tom Maddie, who was a great running back. He had all the plays like written on a wristband. It was crazy that he would refer to. And all they were basically doing was handing the ball off. He hardly passed all game, a handful of short passes. But it shows you the technology. No one was in the booth. It was written on a wristband, and he would be looking at his wristband to call the plays. It was crazy.
I met Tom Madden. He's a great guy. You probably remember when you mentioned his name. I met
Yeah,
him.
yeah. I would have loved to have had the opportunity to talk about that one game. They nearly won. They recovered a fumble, the Colts, that they returned in for touchdown, then got a field goal. They were nursing a 10-0 lead. Eventually, the Packers tied it and won in overtime.
Yeah, but all I'm saying, technology gonna change it. It's just like in baseball. They already accepting the wristband automatic because you can't steal the signals coming from the sideline or coming from the pitcher and to the catcher. They can automatically just hit the button and they can say fastball over outside curve, something like that.
I remember.
I hear your grandson calling you, Byron.
Listen, he's ready to go, Byron. Work him smart. I'm not saying work him hard. Work him out smartly. That's my advice to do. I mean, no golf, no bowling, stick to the task. I mean, with that young man, he's got potential. I could tell. He's got the right attitude.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna get him right. That's for sure.
All right.
Hey, you guys have a great weekend.
Byron, thank you very much for your time today. Have a good one.
Okay.
Here we go.
All right. And we're back to just the three of us.
We didn't discuss the Russell Wilson contract. Do you guys like the idea of Denver signing him to that massive long-term deal? Russell Wilson was smart. He didn't demand to be the highest paid quarterback, but he did take he actually took a little less than Kyler Murray. It's the third best quarterback contract reportedly in history. I mean, Deshaun Watson won and Mahomes signed a long-term deal. Every quarterback sets the bar.
He will be the highest paid quarterback. However, he didn't get the most amount of money in terms of guaranteed.
That went to Mahomes, I think, and then Rodgers, did like deals. But
the guarantee went to actually Deshaun Watson.
So
the biggest he had the biggest guarantee. But right now, Russell Wilson will be the highest paid quarterback beyond the fact, but he didn't get it all guaranteed. So
it's the only thing that counts are really the guarantees at the end of the day.
Right.
Okay, with a quarterback, that's the way. Unlike baseball, where everything seems to be guaranteed, football isn't quite the same. Guarantees a new element, and Denver's taking a chance here. If Russell Wilson has a rough year this year, we don't know how much Russell Wilson has left in the tank. I mean,
that's my thought. That's my problem. I have already come out on the record and said that I think that the AFC West is overrated. I feel that Denver is not going to have as good a season as they think, that Russell Wilson is going to show up there and not be as good as he was back in the day when he was with Seattle. I think that LA has got a good defense, but I feel like that they've now got enough on Herbert that how do you stop Herbert? You got to blitz up the middle. Get in his face that way, and Herbert does not do as well. And I feel that different teams have that now on their agenda to be able to beat him. I think that Kansas City took a step because they lost, obviously, Tyreek Hill. And then you have the Raiders, who I feel like lost. The best part about them was the coach.
But KC replenished their receiving corps with some really good wide receivers and a lot of them back. So I don't know if they lost that much or not.
Didn't they get Ronald Jones from Tampa Bay? Excellent running back there, too. And they got a great college player that slipped under the radar who might be the best player coming out of the draft in Trent McDuffie, a safety, who's going to anchor their defense. I think that's going to be like the steal of the draft. He might do for the Chiefs close to what Micah Parsons did for the Cowboys. Come out like that dynamic. I'm predicting Trent McDuffie absolutely outstanding. That they got a great play in the draft.
Yeah, I agree with the fact, but I don't know that it'll have the same impact as a Micah Parsons would. Especially as a safety, you just don't have that. Like, I think when you are closer to the line, what made Micah Parsons so great was injuries on the rest of Dallas. that was what made Micah Parsons so great. The fact that he went from middle linebacker to lineman on the offensive line and still was able to have so much of an impact as he did. That's what made him very versatile.
I knew how good he was going to be. I knew how good Micah Parsons was going to be. I went on record and saying, and he turned out to be what I thought. That's why I kind of won that the Eagles moved up to get Devontae Smith. I can't argue with that. Devontae Smith is outstanding. He's going to continue to be outstanding, okay? But I kind of wonder, let's say the Eagles had stood pat, hadn't made that move with the Cowboys for the first and the third, and just took Micah Parsons. Wow, you kind of wonder what the look of the Eagle team would be. And again, I love Devontae Smith. How could you argue with that? You know, they got a stud in Devontae Smith, a great receiver. But you kind of just wondered, like I said, the look of the team, the Eagle defense would have been awesome with Micah Smith there. But then again, the offense would have been a little weakened without Smith.
Right. Well, and like I said, it was the Cowboys, the Giants, and the Eagles. That's how those 3 picks would have gone. Had the Eagles not traded with the Cowboys to jump over the Giants, we wouldn't have gotten Devonta Smith. So there's a lot that could have happened there. Could the Cowboys have taken Devonta Smith? Or were they going to automatically take Parsons there as well? The Giants were scrambling because they were about to take Devonta Smith. And they did not.
The Giants, I don't think the Giants wouldn't have done it because they traded with the Bears to get, an extra number 1 pick for the following year than the Justin Fields deal. So they moved to, I think, number 21 or 20, so they moved a little down. So they would have been out of there. But
they were looking to get Devonta Smith, and they were picking right before the Eagles pick. And that's why we made a trade with the Cowboys to get above them. And then that's where the Cowboys.
They could have moved up in the draft too if they had to. So,
how would it have filled out if they didn't move up? Let's say the Cowboys, who were deep in the receiving core last year. This was a year ago. This is before the Amari
Cooper.
They didn't know it wasn't going to work out with Amari Cooper, and they just took Devonta Smith in a loaded receivers core, and they wound up with. And they had Devonta Smith now. Let's say arguably, and the Eagles had, Micah Parsons. Wouldn't that be an interesting scenario right now with Dak Prescott to have a stud like Devonta Smith to throw to? With CeeDee Lamb. Wow, that would have been explosive, but the Eagles would have had Micah Parsons. Wow, what would that have done?
I don't think CeeDee Lamb is as great as everybody's touting him to be. I'm not sure what they're saying. I just don't know what they're saying.
But the point is, so let's say they had Devonta Smith, Dak Prescott to throw to, but then the Eagles could counter. But now we got Micah Parsons. That would have been fun to think about. It worked out for both teams. Okay,
I agree. I think that Micah Parsons is a great player and is, likely going
to. He was from the Philly area. He was from the Philly area.
He wasn't from the Philly area. He was from Pennsylvania. No, he wasn't from Philly. It's okay.
He would have been natural with the Eagles. He would have.
It would have been a good pick for the Eagles to grab him. But
you got. But we love listen. Everyone loved, and Devonta Smith would have been great on the Giants. Oh, he would have been. He wanted to go to the Giants. He thought he was gone there. And Devonta Smith then later said when he went to the Eagles, look, they thought enough of me to trade up to get me. I'm on it, So that made him feel good that they went out of their way to get him. So that took away like the hurt of the Giants maybe, not quite grabbing him the way it looked like they were.
Right.
And now that we have Nakobe Dean, along with Jordan Davis, I think that's Jordan Davis is going to have similar impact to the way he had it for Dallas 2 years ago or last year.
The Giants, they could have Nakobe Dean, the defensive captain of the great Georgia team, and they somehow didn't go for it, and he wound up with the Eagles. And if he winds up being outstanding for the Eagles, providing a lot of leadership, doing for them what he did for the University of Georgia, did the Giants live that down? Because he was right there for the Giants to get, and they didn't do it, and he goes to their rival.
I mean, that's a good question, Jack. I think they would regret it somewhat. But listen, there's so many good players at so many different positions too, Jack. I mean, we're not just, it's not just one and that's it. I mean, there's so many good players. I think the Giants did very well in the draft as the Jets did. I mean, that's what people say anyway.
Yeah, I think that the Giants got the people that they were going after. I mean, it was almost unanimous from when I was there at the draft amongst Giants fans. And there were some big ones that were there, obviously. You had Sneaky, you had license plate guy. These are guys that follow the Giants religiously all year long. And they said specifically that these are the players that I wanted out of, they had 2 of the top 7 picks, and they wanted specifically to grab a couple of players, and they grabbed those players specifically. So I feel that because I kept saying that the Giants are going to take a quarterback, that I thought that they were really slated to take a quarterback, and realistically, I wouldn't be surprised.
No,
I know
you're
that
the only one, Pax.
I know, of course, I was the only one that said that, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Giants definitely don't try to go after it this year and go for a quarterback next year, where they actually say, okay, we want to try to improve. We want to do better than we did last year, but we're not really concerned as much about winning this year per se as we are about getting a guy who I think we could stand behind as quarterback going forward here. And I wouldn't mind them having another 6th pick in the draft, because I feel like that the Giants are always really good at messing it up, a little bit. And
certain teams make moves that you wonder how it's going to turn out, how it could harm a franchise. Like the Jacksonville Jaguars going number 1, took Travon Walker, defensive end, loads of potential. We hear about this guy's incredible upside, but Aiden Hutchinson was there at number 2, who from University of Michigan, who wound up going to his hometown team, the Lions, at number 2. But how do you pass on Hutchinson? To me, he's like a virtual sure thing to be an impact player. And he's kind of showing it in training camp, and the jury's still out, on Walker there. Like certain moves that teams make, you kind of wonder. But then again, in the past, in past drafts years ago, teams made moves, and you wonder how can they make those moves, and it turned out to be okay there. I mean, listen, Ricky Williams, Heisman Trophy winner, wasn't taken by Indianapolis. They went for Edgerton James, who turned out to be a better pro.
Both good.
So you never know.
Well, and I think you're going to find out about Hutchinson right in week 1. Obviously, the Eagles go up to Detroit, and it's going to be a great matchup on that offensive versus defensive line. I mean, the Eagles' offensive line is going to have a test, and so is the Detroit defensive line. So it's going to be interesting to see.
It's going to be tough for Hutchinson.
They're playing a Detroit opening game.
It's going to be tough.
Let me tell you, Mac, also, people look at the schedule, Mac. I know you put us on the spot on the schedules in the past. You can't pick games so far in advance. You like to do it for fun. Nah, like last year, at the end of the year, if you looked at the Eagles' schedule and you said, oh, they're playing Detroit opening game, we give them a win there. This is a much better Lion team. This isn't the same Lion team you beat last year, Pax. They're far different. This is like a much better Lion team, a new Lion team. They are a serious threat to beat the Eagles in game 1.
I don't know about I think that they have improved. I think that the coach has got them on an upswing. I definitely give Detroit more. When we were talking about possible sleepers and dark horses, I give Detroit probably some of that, a lot of that play more than any other team in the NFL. That being said, I don't know that they've got it all together as of right now. You still have the question marks about Goff. You still, they have a good receiver and they have a decent running back, but I don't know that they have it all together as of yet. I think
they're pretty close, guys. They're pretty close, though.
No, and I agree with that, but I think that when it comes down to, and don't get me wrong, Detroit's got a pretty good offensive line too. They've got a couple of ex-Eagles on that offensive line. They have their assistant head coach is Deuce Staley, who is a big rah-rah guy. He's always been known as a great motivator of men, even when he was here. So I believe that they are definitely trending in the right direction. I think that it's not the easiest. First off, it's the NFL. You can't take any game for granted. So the Eagles cannot go up there and just assume that it's going to be another 44-6 game, that they have to go up there and play like they know how to play and how they should play. Would it be a surprise if the Eagles lose this game? Yeah, a little bit. Is it a major ridiculous upset? I don't think so, especially in the first couple weeks of a season. Again, I think that it could be a surprise that they lose, but it's not the craziest. It's not Jacksonville beating, the Rams, at the end of, at the beginning of a season, as after the Rams come in and win the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? I don't think it's on that level. I think that Detroit has gotten better and that they are going to continue to get better and that they are going to fight for a playoff spot. I believe that. But I don't know that they're going to be able to put it all together. They're going to come with a little bit of time.
Yeah, well, certain teams, when they lose a lot of close games one year and you feel they've improved, they're going to win some of those games. And that changes everything with the record. And that's what happened to Detroit. So many close losses. And even though they wound up with the number 2 overall pick in the draft, this was a team that played hard every week. They never lost focus. So I kind of like that. And that I like the Giants.
But listen, they do that, especially with a new coach in the first year. They play their asses off because they want to make that big impression on the coach.
Giants didn't do that with Joe Judge, really.
The year before they did.
Okay.
Yeah.
They regressed badly, the Giants last year.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, and that's because Joe Judge was worried about everybody else's team and not his own. Too much crying and too much. Oh, look at what's happening over here in Washington. Look at, we're crying about the Eagles throwing that game 2 years ago. Blah, 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 blah. Actually worry about your own team. Had you done that, maybe you would have won more games.
And there was something really interesting that happened too last year with the Giants. The year before was all rookies. They all played all the rookies, and there was no veterans until the following year when they come in with their own attitudes, their own thoughts, and it's you can't change their mind. So they had a big effect on the younger kids, and it fell apart. So.
We talk about storylines, quarterbacks. The lack of security that these guys have is really astounding if you look at the rosters carefully. There's so few quarterbacks who we could say with absolute confidence are going to be the quarterback of their team next year. I mean, you take the AL East, the only one is Josh Allen. Even Mac Jones, if he's off a little this year, Belichick, whoever the coach is, could replace him. The same, we're not sure with Zach Wilson. The Jets probably stick with him. Miami, we're not certain about Tua. I mean, you look at the NL East. I mean, the only one is Zach Prescott, who we could say confidently will be the starting quarterback next year. We don't know for sure with Jalen Hurts, Carson Wentz, Daniel Jones. I mean, and, certain guys, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, they'll be quarterbacking a team next year. We're not sure about a number of other guys. So many interesting storylines there with that.
Except Jack Gardner Minshew. We know he will be quarterback next year, yes.
Yeah, I mean,
he'll be on a roster next year. I'll know that. That's what I'll bet on, is that he'll be on an NFL roster. That's it.
If Hurts slips, you never know. There are going to be some calls in Philly.
I hear you. And if he comes out of the gate really slow and they start off 1-3 or something of that nature, there's going to be crying in Mudville. Yeah, absolutely.
Unless it's Diego defense. If he's putting up good numbers and the offense is moving, maybe he's not the scapegoat. They'll make the coach the scapegoat. They'll go.
Yeah, well, if it's a defense, they will get on Gannon quickly. Gannon has a very, very short leash here, as we did not really care for the way he did defense last year. So, and it took him to really start to figure it out at the end of the season to turn it around some. But Yep. We'll see. That's why we play these games and we don't just sit around and watch them. Just do it on paper, so to speak.
Well, prediction time on Sunday. We make it official who we think's going to do what for the year, and we
absolutely. Well, I can't wait for it. But in the meantime, we are going to have a show tomorrow, Bait Show, which I'm sure will have some NFL games also in the mix, or at least some NFL questions about moving forward within this season. But in the meantime, everybody, thank you very much for hanging with us today. Appreciate Byron spending some extra time with us while in Keith's absence. Everybody have a great day, and we will see you guys